So, for myself, I mean, as I've been talking about, I'm still vibing really high on the band focus. And so I just sort of feel like that even like I said last time with the creation box, uh, I feel like everything that's coming for me, I have just been so very grateful for. And I just feel like I'm living in a rampage of in appreciation right now. As things are unfolding, it just, the addition of Greg as my guitarist has just really unfolded some cool stuff because he also has done some video and production stuff. And so he's come on board with helping me with my Energy Under the Stars. And although it didn't turn out the way we intended it to yesterday, we still were able to do it as a YouTube live for the first time. So rather than doing it as a recording and posting it later, if anyone happened to be on the channel, you could have actually participated in the meditation with us as we did it. And so I'm really excited that I'm finally seeing that come to fruition, because I've been talking about that for a year, that is my intention with those meditations, is to go live, to go live, to go live. And now we're live. So I've just had.
That is awesome. Now I can join you from Maricopa.
Yes, you can. And Mari, you can join us from Tucson if you want to. Yeah, and from anywhere. So I'm super excited about that. So just kind of keep that in mind. I do have it as an event in our group now, but it is the first Sunday of the month is when we do it, usually from 6 to 8. So yeah, that's been really, really cool. And we now have 5 original songs created. And so we're really going to start focusing on getting some of these performances recorded so that I can start sharing them out on the YouTube, and you guys can start hearing some of the stuff we're coming up with. So I don't know. For myself, like I said, I feel like it doesn't get any better than that. I just feel like I am living in appreciation all the time right now for every experience that's coming to me. So it's just been really, really good. And I keep that in mind, that over the last couple of weeks that we're doing Rampage of Appreciation, and I'm like, I am just living it full force. Did anybody else have any experiences over the last couple of weeks with this concept?
Well, so in our house, at least twice a day, we do a rampage of appreciation, just verbally. So we have 2 alarms set at 11:11 a.m. and then again at 3:33 in the afternoon. When those alarms go off, it's for us to stop everything we're doing and just appreciate. And the idea came from doing the rampage of appreciation. The highest vibration that we can achieve is that of appreciation, love, joy. And every time we do this, no matter where we are purposely taking the time to find positive aspects, finding things to appreciate. And, we feel better no matter what it is that was going on, or the middle of lessons, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As soon as we stop and do this, everybody feels better. The energy in the room is lighter. We go back to whatever we're doing with smiles, and even the dog takes time to appreciate. As soon as we start doing it, whether she's recognizing the words or whether she is recognizing just the energy, she immediately goes out and she grabs her toys and comes back. I appreciate my toys. It is adorable. But we do it every single day, and um, I can attest that it is a valid practice for raising your frequency and just being in that space. And when as you're saying, that everything that's going on with you right now, you're in a super creative space.
Yeah.
And that, when you are in a creative space, you are in that same vibration of allowing source to flow through you. You are not resisting that flow at all, which is what we're doing when we're in appreciation.
Right.
So being in that creative space is the same as being in appreciation.
Oh,
So
that is,
that's why you feel like you've been in appreciation, a rampage of appreciation every day, all the time. And
yeah,
it's are, you're flowing it. And that's what
yeah,
this is all about.
yeah,
Allow
yeah,
it out.
absolutely. But I love that though, the idea of setting a specific time to just stop and acknowledge that. I really like that concept. I think I am going to work to incorporate that in for myself. See when I could do a consistent time each day, you know? Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. With our rampage of appreciation. Okay, so I want to go ahead and update a couple of things. I am super excited. As we all know, Sonia is going to be going to see Abraham live, and she's going to be going to see them on November 18th, which is the weekend just before our next book study. So I invited Sonia to consider the idea of, instead of us doing traditional book study for our next meeting, if she would be willing to come on as our guest speaker and talk about her experiences at the live event and share with us how that went for her. And I know that she has also attended the on the boat, Sonia. You've been on the cruise. There we go. Thank you. So I would love to hear, you know, maybe share some of those experiences as well. But I am super excited about this. And I think I am just as excited for you to go probably as as you are to go. And so so just FYI, for next book study, we're going to be suspending actual book study, and we are going to get an opportunity to hear about Sonia's experience on November 18th with the Abraham Live. So I'm really thankful that you're willing to do that. I think that'll be a lot of fun to kind of break things up and hear about how it went for you. So
Sure.
yeah, yeah. Um, and with that, if there is no other thoughts or discussion, I think I would like to attempt to take us to the Abraham Rampage of Appreciation. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and invite everybody to just close your eyes for a moment. Let's go ahead and take one round of counted breathing. 5 seconds in, hold at the top, 5 seconds out, hold at the bottom. Breathe in, hold, breathe out, and hold. Okay. Connecting with the higher aspect of self and source, Abraham, to bring forth the best chapter and process for the evening and the group that is here and involved. Okay. So it looks like we're going to go from one side of the book to the other. This evening, we are going to be reading chapter 22 and process 22. So, so fun that we just did chapter 1 and now we're doing chapter 22. All right. So chapter 22, the different degrees of your emotional guidance scale, and process 22, moving up the emotional guidance scale. You know, it's really interesting. I think I want to ask your guys' perspective on this. When she was doing the rampage, she was talking a lot about being specific. And I go back and forth with this concept all the time because I know that when we're putting our intentions out, it is good to be specific with your desires. But I always kind of go back and forth between wanting to be specific in what I want, but also being open to what maybe I don't know is there that could be even more than what I could even imagine, right? And when I'm going through it, I'm doing some of that. I struggle with that concept with being specific, but not being so narrow that you're closing yourself off from the greater flow. And I wonder if you guys had any thoughts or opinions about that. Yes, Sonia.
So, um, the okay, the idea that you are getting more specific also means that you're increasing the momentum behind the vibration that you're becoming specific on. So when you're general, you have a low momentum. There's not a lot of energy behind whatever it is you're thinking about. You're thinking about it generally. There isn't a lot of momentum behind it. There isn't a lot of energy feeding that thought.
Yeah.
Then you think about it a little bit longer and the momentum starts building. And what happens is as you think it longer, your thoughts automatically become more specific because the momentum is building. So whether you try to get specific or you are still on that same topic, your thoughts will just become more specific
Right.
because the momentum will continue to gain as you stay on the topic. So if you are thinking and you are becoming specific, but suddenly you're like, I don't want to go there. This doesn't feel good. I'm putting limitations on it. Then just go back to being more general.
Yeah.
And when you do that and it feels better, then you know you're heading in the right direction. And once it feels better, you can start getting more specific again.
Yeah.
But you just it's for you to maintain an awareness of exactly how you're feeling, not just doing it to be specific, not just doing it to do a process, but paying attention to how the process and your thoughts are making you feel as a result.
Yeah. And I know that for myself right now, like, well, I mean, I guess in a sense I do have specifics because I have been specifically wanting the energy under the stars to go live, and now it's moving in that direction. So I suppose that's a pretty specific statement. But and maybe so maybe because I have been very much not concentrating on stuff that I want to stuff that I want, but more I've been wanting to maintain my vibration and my keep myself in joy. And so that to me has been more important than anything else, because if that's there, then I feel everything then is open to be able to come. I don't know if I'm describing that correctly.
Christine, you finally figured it out. That is exactly how it works.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got
Okay.
it.
Okay. All
Top of
right.
the class.
So we have Mary.
I keep hitting the thing and then okay, so I don't know if this is going to make any sense because Sonia, you said it beautifully, but at the same time I was thinking when you started to speak, I had already was thinking was that individually it depends on the level of where you are, I believe. And if it were me, I have to be totally specific because I've never been specific to what I want and what I want to manifest. That's the level I'm at. But looking at Christina and the way she asked the question, as to, well, you know, I have a really hard time with just being kind of that closed. I want to open it up so that, you know, spirit might be able to give me more than I even could have imagined. And it's interesting that she said that, because I have been lately opening up more, trying to. It's really difficult to do because I'm not at that level where I believe that, again, it goes back to individually. I don't know if I'm making any sense here, but it makes sense to me. Recently, there was something that occurred to me that I was just wanting a little bit, and I got a lot of it, a little bit, and it was like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. Does that make sense? Because in a lot of ways, I think I was opening up for it, but I had no idea. I had no idea that I was actually that wanting to bring it in. I don't know, but that was my thought when she asked the question.
How beautiful to see how powerful you are in your creating, yeah. Even if it was overwhelming. Um, I do know that I have heard that you can use the term "and more" if you're getting specific. If I would like to, receive, I don't know, this much and more, to kind of leave that open end for possibility, but still keeping to your specificness. It's interesting that I struggle with this. My mom has teased me several times about that because, anyways, okay, Leo.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
All right. Thanks for putting my hand down for me.
Oh, it just helps me keep track a little bit.
Yeah, I couldn't even get to the button fast enough there. So I'm so glad you asked this question.
Oh, good.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Are you ready for this? Are you sitting down?
Yeah, I am.
So that's good. So I remember years ago when I first got into all this, before I even knew this was called law of attraction, I didn't even know it had a name. I was taking meditation classes, and the teacher, she didn't say law of attraction or intention or any of that verbiage. She said, be careful what you wish for because you're going to get it. And as I look back, I'm like, oh wow, that's like so profound, and it's so true, you know. So the other law of attraction group I'm in there with Elaine, she came up with like a great analogy. The ordering of the pizza. You know, you place an order for a pizza, and there's an expectation that it's going to show up. You know, if they say it's 45 minutes for delivery, you're not calling every 5 minutes going, why isn't it here yet? You know, it's kind of like you place the order and you let it go, but
Yeah.
there's that excitement and anticipation of, oh boy, you know, pizza time, right? So what I added to that is, if you call them and they say, what do you want on your pizza? And you're like, oh, you know, whatever, right?
Yeah.
You're leaving it so open-ended, and then they're like, well, we're going to put anchovies all over it.
Yeah.
Well, then it shows up and you're like, I don't like anchovies. And they're like, but you said, well, do whatever we want. So we did whatever we wanted. We just filled in the gap. You're right. So that's almost a little too general.
Yeah.
But if they say, what do you want on it? And I go, well, I want pineapple on it, but the pineapple has to come from this country, and it has to be sourced by a guy named Raul, and it has to be picked on a Wednesday at 3 p.m. Like it's so much extra unnecessary specificity that it's kind of working against you, because then there's all these other factors that are involved for that to show up, and then you might be really slowing it down. Now, could that still happen? Yeah, that's possible. But the question I ask is it necessary? And am I getting in my own way?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So, right. So then what I do is I do the process of making a list of what my core values are and what my priorities are. So if the priority is I just want to put I want pineapple on pizza and I just want that to go into my mouth, you know, I'm not going to be overly specific, you know. And if they say it's 45 minutes for delivery, I am going to get ready for that,
Yeah.
you know. So the other thing Elaine said, and this is probably I think the best thing I ever learned from her, is she said, I set the intention for this or better.
Yes.
Because then you kind of like remove yourself from it and you get out of your own way. And then if the universe can find a way to enhance that, you're not interfering with it by saying, well, it's got to be this and this and this. And it's, you know, you're kind of out of the way of it. Like, I'm setting the intention for this, but if better that can show up, that's fine too.
Right.
And then you don't have to do all the work of figuring out every last little detail. You just kind of let that go. And then the universal computer factors in what that looks like, and then that can show up.
Yeah.
So with your question of how specific should you go, I think you should go specific enough to where it's going to satisfy you, but leaving the extra open to some universal interpretation
Yeah. It's
yeah.
like a dance.
Yes. Well, it's a co-collaboration.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you're setting an intention, right? And then the universe is going to meet you at that place, and then there's going to be a little universal creation at the same time. But if you don't like anchovies, well then you should probably
Might be specific about that.
be specific, like, no, I want pineapple, you know, so
Yeah.
or whatever. So that's what I've been working on the last few years, is how specific do I need to be, and how open can I be to universal interpretation?
Right.
And
Right.
then that creates a situation that's a little more fun, and it's less hassle, and you know, so there you go. Food for thought, pun intended.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Leo. Much
You're
appreciated.
welcome so much.
Sonia?
Just wanted to add, because I enjoyed that analogy, Leo. However, I just want to point out that you can get as specific as you want with your words, but your vibration in the moment of the experience already sent out the message to the universe what it is that you want in the specifics. So
Yeah.
the vibration already went out there before you had a chance to put words to it. So the universe, source, already knows what it is, what those specifics are. They are known, and now you don't have to think about the specifics anymore. You don't have to. They're already known, and it's already going to come together if all you do is stay general and stay happy, or at least not less than generally
Generally.
apathetic.
Well, you know,
So,
it's great because it also is a testimonial to going back to the creation box, putting it in there and letting it go,
and
and
letting it
just
go.
working on your
And
vibration to allow it to flow in, right?
that's I think this is the most important thing that Leo said, was you put the request out there, and they told you it's going to take 45 minutes for the pizza to show up, you're not going to sit there and keep calling them, right? You're going to get ready. You're going to set your table. You're going to get your drinks. You're going to do whatever else needs to be done so that you are ready for your request to show up. Well, it's the same with any other kind of request. If you decide that you want a new job, don't just sit there and wait for somebody to call you. You've got to get your resume together. You got to put it out there. You got to put your page up. You got to get your portfolio together. You're not just going to sit there and wait. You're going to do something. You're going to take the steps, but that's you getting ready to be ready. You already put the request out there, it's hanging out there, and now you want to be in the space to allow it to come to you. And that's just you matching the vibration, which
Yeah.
just means you finding happy.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, great conversation. Thank you so much, everybody. Leo.
Okay, so I got a tidbit to add to Sonia's tidbit, and thank you, Sonia, for reminding me of the other point that I wanted to add to this is however specific you get, it has to be believable to you. So if you get ultra specific and deep down you don't really believe that's really possible for you, then that's kind of a way of getting in your own way. So I can understand why Abraham recommends that you start general and then you can kind of go from there. And then if it becomes too specific, like, yeah, I don't even believe that's even possible, then you can kind of back it off to something that's more general. So it's like a sliding scale specificity meter that you can kind of use. And then the other thing I dropped in the chat there is what I call the pre-mana prep, which is short for preliminary manifestation preparation, which is the work that you do in between setting the intention and when it shows up, when it manifests. And what that does is it helps to, well, it does basically two things. It shows the universe that you're serious and that like you really want it and you're not just like, kidding around. And then the second thing it does is it gives you something to do to kind of occupy yourself a little bit, and that can help to alleviate mana frustration. Like why isn't it showing up already? Like, come on, I just set the intention 5 minutes ago. Like, why isn't it? If you do the preparation, you're solidifying that vibration by acting as if, yeah, I placed that order for the pizza. It's coming. I'm going to get ready for that. You're affirming your affirmation by saying, yeah, it's already so, and it's going to show up, and I'm going to be ready to receive. Because if you set this grand intention of I want da 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 and all this specifics, are you? And that's the other question I ask myself: am I ready to receive this? Like, am I even ready? So that's where I spend. I think I spend more time in the pre-mana prep zone, just preparing to receive, than I do in the the setting the intention zone.
Well,
So,
and interestingly, spending your time there also takes your mind off of the outcome and puts you into the journey of it, right?
yes.
You can't, well, you can stand there and watch water as it's going to boil, but it's going to seem like, just like Sonia said, or just like you said, you don't want to be calling every 5 minutes to wonder where your pizza is, so I love all of that. Thank you everyone.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts on this topic before we move into reading the chapter?
I do have a quick question.
Okay.
Have you ever, I know we've been doing one of the matching chapter and process, but there is almost a whole chapter before the processes at the beginning of part 2. Have you guys ever read through that?
It's interesting because I was thinking about it this go around, and no, because we generally stick to the the chapter and process. So we haven't. and so that's definitely something. Do you have a suggestion on when you think it would be the best time for that?
I think maybe the next meeting, because I don't know how long I can keep you guys entertained with information for the,
Okay.
but I think that would be a great time to do it, because it's really a general how to use this part of the book kind of it's important,
Yeah,
and if you read it before, it's good to know.
I think that sounds like a great plan. I love it. So we will
Okay.
we will do that. We will plan to incorporate that the tweener chapter, the in between chapter. That sounds wonderful. I love it. Yeah, thank you. Um, okay, with that, I think we're gonna go ahead and go into reading and. It's interesting. Um, I think I have heard probably 2 or 3 different people speak recently about anger and how taking away, I suppose it would be the judgment of it, and taking a look at what it's showing you and embracing that. And it's just of course that stood out to me in this as well, just because it's been coming up in conversation as of late, around. And I think it's so important because we do have such judgment on it, and then we do try to squish it down. And I just thought it was so interesting that they said then it takes you back to even the lower vibration density of depression. And so that kind of stood out for me as something to truly acknowledge and understand, um, better. Um, yes, Mari.
What stood out for me was that, well, first of all, that one that really cracked me up was, but what about those who desire not to desire? I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But what stood out for me was how interesting it is when you are in alignment with what it is that you desire, and it actually comes to you. And the person that right now comes to mind is like you, Christina, with your music and the way that you were just like last week and this week, it's just like it's like a natural. There is no resistance. And how much my whole life everything has been, there has been resistance, and I had to cross over that huge bridge, and it was painful, and it, it was, even though I desired to have that goal met, it was just so painful. And so this really kind of opened me up toward the end that it doesn't have to be that way at all, which is amazing. I love it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I actually
Am
just
I on the right track or what?
yeah, I actually just heard a speaker talking about that. We can do things the easy way or we can do things the hard way. And it doesn't have to be the hard way. We don't have to do things the hard way to gain and learn and grow, although we tend to often.
Yeah, because my dad always said, oh, you grow up, you work hard, and then you die.
Mm.
And that was it. It was like, what? No.
Great. Yeah.
So anyways.
Thank you. Sonia?
Excuse me. So I just wanted to comment first on the fact that the discussion we were having prior to beginning the reading totally was in alignment with what we ended up reading. So that time that we spent meditating and then picking the numbers we were spot on, because this is exactly where we needed to be tonight.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
one of the things that I really loved about this section was that any deliberate movement, is of value. So even though you might be going from depression to anger, it may not seem like a better thing, but because you actually are feeling better, that makes it better. And I think also the fact that it's super duper important that we remember that no one else gets to decide for us what the appropriate response is. You don't know where I'm at. You
Right.
don't know what I'm thinking. How can you decide for me whether or not I should be going to angry, or if I should be staying over here and quietly being depressed? Like, that's
Yeah,
not for you to decide. And when we put that judgment, like, okay, so I teach my 14-year-old. He will get frustrated about something in the middle of a lesson. And his first reaction is to get angry because he's frustrated, but he doesn't walk it through. He doesn't talk himself through it. He reacts first. And his first reaction, because he doesn't want to be sad about what he can't do, is to be mad, because being mad is definitely better feeling than being sad.
yeah,
And so I recognize that, but I will tell you, when he bursts out with his anger, my first response is to say, knock that off, right? Like, that is an inappropriate response. You just got the answer wrong. That's not a reason to be angry. But who am I to decide, right? He has a right to his anger.
yeah,
That's what he is feeling. That's what he's emoting right now, angry, because that's what he's feeling. And it is not right for me to say, you can't be angry in this. What you feel is what you feel, and you have to acknowledge that. You have to accept it. And you know what? You have to not care if nobody else does too. It's okay. Nobody else has to accept your feelings. They're for you.
and that can be really challenging. Jonathan is a what do you call it? The angry driver, right? And so something will happen, and then but it tailspins into this thing. And when you're in the car with them and that happens, it feels like I'm being attacked. And so it's difficult, because it's like understanding that he needs to process what he's going through, and I can't judge what that is for him. At the same time, I feel like I don't want to be in the car with him when that happens. Just, and it's difficult. Okay, so then what is the appropriate reaction for that? I don't know. There have been times when I've actually just closed my eyes and tuned it out when that has happened.
Well, being in a car with somebody, you can't exactly just open the door and walk away. But
Right,
in
right.
most cases, that's exactly what I would recommend, is just to walk away. I
Yeah,
was on the phone today, actually, with a friend, and she was complaining a little bit, and I turned her around and I was like, well, here's the bright side. And then something else she complained about. I'm like, oh, well, here's the bright side of that. Complained about something else. I'm like, oh, look, here's another silver lining. And I finally got her to a place where we were just talking and there was no more complaining. I'm like, yay, we made it. And then all of a sudden she started complaining again. I hung up on her. I just hung up,
and I'm done.
and that's it.
Yeah,
And I think for me, it was, I don't want to keep doing this, and I don't want to feel like this. And it's okay. It's not going to hurt her to not continue whining at me.
yeah.
So it didn't hurt anybody for me to do it. And then we just texted each other and said, sorry, got to get back to work. Talk to you later. You know?
Right. Mhm. Yeah. Yes, Leo.
Can I add something to that though? Because I was like, I have 4 children and I made so many mistakes. And this last one, that I actually took some parenting courses. We went on a trip, the last trip that we were on, and she got so angry. She just was beating up the car. So in the past, you know, they want you to react, right? And in the past, I always reacted. But this time, I'm so proud of myself. I gently pulled over, you know, going regularly 35, 40 miles an hour. And she goes, "What are you pulling over for?" And I pulled over the car and I took the keys and I got out of the car and I went around and I just stood there. "Get back in the car and drive the car," you know, my teenage daughter.
Mm.
And I said, "Not until you get yourself together, I'm not going to." I swear, I stood out there for almost 45 minutes. Eventually, she knew I meant business.
Hmm.
So I had to share that, ladies, because of what, you know, it's like I did it wrong with my other three. Always, I took the beatings all the time.
Hmm.
So, anyways, sorry, Leo, I had to share that. It was very important.
No,
It's
thank
okay.
okay, Leo.
Thanks for jeez, I had my hand up all that time. My arm is so tired. Thanks for putting my hand down. Yeah, what I was gonna say is I remember the very first self-help book I ever read. I was 15 years old, and the name of the book was Anger. And I forget the name of the author, but the cover, I remember the background was black and it said anger in really big, bright, bold red letters. And I sat down and I read that book, and it said in there that the root of anger is pain. And that's when I put it together. I went, oh, I get it now. The reason why I'm such an angry teenager is because on some deeper level, there's this pain that I haven't like addressed and dealt with, and da 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 da. That was really a next level eye-opening game changer for me. Because a lot of people, when they're experiencing a really intense emotion like that, they think like they're on autopilot and they're powerless and there's nothing they can do. And then that's everything, you know, Abraham has been saying for decades. Like, no, you can course correct that, but sometimes you can't get there from here. So you can't maybe necessarily get to the better feeling thought that's 100% better. Sometimes you can only go 10% or 1%, or what I've been discussing with effervescent Elena. Sometimes you can't even get there at all. You got to stay in neutral. You got to stay at zero, and maybe you can't move forward, but at least you're not moving backwards. You're just maintaining where you are. So yeah, reading that book really helped me, and that's when I started the process of like unraveling that ball of yarn, so to speak. Like, oh, okay, so I'm experiencing the emotion of anger, and the root of anger is pain because there's some underlying pain going on. And then I realized that if you add in the fear that the pain won't go away, then the anger really festers and it becomes rage, and it turns into hatred, and then it's like throwing gasoline on a brush fire, you know. So I realize the importance of this kind of sliding emotional guidance system scale thing, because there's so many different degrees of emotion that we can experience. I mean, when you think about it, that's really a gift, you know, like it isn't just, you know, uh, joy and hatred, and then that's all we get. there's like all these other different shades in between, and then that gives us the opportunity to be able to navigate that. Like, well, maybe I can go from uh 10% to 20% better, because that's an improvement. um and so there's that. And I really really wish I would remember the name of that author of that book. But yeah, that was next level. The other thing I was going to say is someone once said that depression is merely anger without enthusiasm.
Huh.
So because that's the other thing you go through when you're an angst-ridden teenager, is you go through the anger and the defiance and the frustration, and then the flip side of that is the melancholy and the depression and and that. So if you take anger and you take all the enthusiasm away from it, then you have depression, and then depression, the root of that is pain, right? And then if you take the pain and then you add in the fear that it's not going to go away, then the depression tailspins into like really deep depression. So it's kind of like two ends of the same fear scale, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, I put that out there, more food for thought.
Well, it's even just like they said in our chapter here, there's really only two, what feels good and what feels bad. And then
Right.
all of the different in betweens of that, right? Yeah.
There's an abundance of emotional variety,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me go. Okay. So, does anybody else have any other thoughts on this before we move into reading the process? I love being able to look at it and and recognize where I've experienced it, just like this too shall pass eventually. And it's like they said, one step at a time, one step up the scale at a time, one day at a time. Um,
The other book that one of the other books that they've written, The Amazing Power of Deliberate Intent, Living the Art of Allowing. That one includes um, a description of several of these processes, and it goes into further detail and additional examples. So if you are looking for additional examples on any of these, not all of them, they don't have every single process in there, but most of them, this is a great source for more sample work. I would offer to read some of them right now, but we'll be over time, so
yeah,
I don't want
yeah. Um, yeah, and I think we've done that in the past. We've done that in the past with some of the processes, and you've pulled out that other book. What was the name of it again?
to. It is The Amazing Power of Deliberate Intent. The subtitle is Living the Art of Allowing.
And then I know that we have shared these before, but I do always love the ever-changing emotional scale that Sonia had has created. And I have a couple of them. Let me see here.
I'm on my phone right.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I have a couple of them that you've shared in the past that I continually share.
So what I did was, through listening to seminars, I picked up a few other, just every now and again, Abraham would say, oh, well, that word would be about between here and here on the scale. So I added them over the years. And the thing to remember, and they go over it in the material that we just read, not every word is going to resonate. And so maybe whatever it is you're feeling, you're not going to see it on the list. So in that case, you just have to do that feel for it practice that they were telling us about. You just have
Right.
to say, well, is it closer to this or is it closer to that? Okay, it's definitely closer to this. I may not have the right word for it yet, but it's definitely closer to this.
Yeah.
And then it's just so
Kind of
you can
know.
get the place where you are.
You- Just at least kind of gives you the which direction am I headed in? Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Okay, any other thoughts on this process or any of the things that we read this evening? All right, well, for the next few weeks, we get to work on practicing our emotional guidance scale. And don't forget that on our next meeting, we are going to be enjoying hearing about Sonia's experience with the Abraham Live. And then we will also read that chapter that is in the beginning before the processes that basically gives you explanation on how to use them. And I think that's a great idea. Thank you so much for suggesting that. And what wonderful timing to be able to kind of plop that in right in between when we're not going to be doing an actual process and chapter. So I think that's wonderful that we can incorporate that into the next meeting. So I think with that, unless anybody else has anything that they would like to.
I have a question for Sonia. How'd you get the ticket? And tell me about the whole, like, where is it at? It's in Phoenix, right?
Yep, it's at the Phoenix Regency, Hyatt Regency. And I happen to know that there are two cities that sell out almost immediately: Phoenix and Asheville, North Carolina. So if you ever intend to attend one of them, always get your tickets in advance. So I got mine about 3 months ago.
Oh, good tip.
They sell out pretty quickly. And I think it's because they started here, so they have a really
Yeah.
big following in this area.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Enjoy.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
will.
Are you gonna stay at the hotel or are you just
I
driving
am.
over?
No, I'm gonna stay there. I mean, it's only a 40-minute drive from my house,
But
but
what a wonderful
yeah,
event.
I just want to stay. I just want to stay in the area. I want to be able to, like, we're going to go out to dinner afterwards. In fact, if anybody's interested, if you're going to come up this way or if you're going to be in town on the 18th, my friend and I are both going to the seminar. And then right now we have reservations at I think it's called Mancuso's. It's an Italian restaurant. So we just plan on going there and discussing the event and just maintaining that high vibe.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah.
I'm gonna
Cool.
That's the other thing. We just want to stay in that space.
Yeah.
So we decided to go ahead and stay at the hotel and be able to go out, stay in the city and have a nice meal and
yeah,
really
do the whole thing.
bask and bask and bask in it.
Excellent.
And she's also staying at the hotel, correct?
Yes, she typically stays at the hotel also. She's usually there a day or two in advance, actually. So she's probably going to be there by Friday.
How
Okay.
exciting.
All right. Well, take lots of notes because we
I
want to hear all about it. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing about it.
I do
How
try to take notes, but
exciting.
I do get caught up in the moment too, up in the energy.
Yeah,
of it.
enjoy the experience and you'll be able to share
Yeah.
wonderfully whatever comes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe your friend can also come and share so that way you don't put yourself completely out there.
She
Just a
may.
thought. Christina's going,
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if she would like to participate, she's welcome to. I think that would be cool. Yeah.
She's really new to this. Like I introduced her, but she's listened to a few clips here and there, and she is interested in channelers and mediums and such. But I highly doubt that she would feel comfortable speaking on the topic. But I'll ask her.
Yeah, well, you can just invite her to be a part of it, even if you're the only one that speaks. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell her that I'm a newbie too.
Oh,
All
And you know
right.
what? I think that would be really cool too, just to get her perspective as a newbie.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm 20 years in, so that would be the fun dichotomy.
yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, oh, it's exciting things on the horizon. I am loving it. Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, for a wonderful meeting tonight. I love that, Sonia, like you said, the way the conversation kind of led into what we read. So I think that's very, very cool. And I guess we will see each other again on the 20th.
All righty. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good
Have a
night.
good night.
Thank you,
Thank
Christina.
Good night.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Christina, and everyone else. Bye.
Bye.